the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Hey, this is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Everybody saying this.
All right. Thank you, Kendra, for turning that off. I was like, wow, how long are we going to play that song? So what happened is, the Bradfords, they modify the songs for us, and we get used to their version. And it's like, we don't like the original version anymore. At least that's me anyways. So, all right. So welcome to West Valley Center for Spiritual Living. My name is Reverend Clyde Goings. I'm the assistant minister here. And I'm really glad to be back. I was gone for last weekend. I was out of town for work in San Antonio. But I am back and ready for all the fun that is coming up. So we have a lot of great activities going on today or this week or this month. The first one is the Science of Mind introductory class with Reverend Karen. It's going to be right after service in here. So grab a snack, come back, and she'll do a short introductory of what she's going to be teaching in the Foundations or Science of Mind class itself. So it's a great class. The next item is the Boo Bash is next Saturday. So if you don't have any plans, please join us for this fantastic party. It's been a while. It's been a long time since we've had a party, so it's time to have a good fun party. Please dress up in the costume contest. It's going to be great. So we have tickets. You can buy them in advance in the bookstore, and then also Julie said that she's also collecting the money for the Gourmets for God, or you can buy the Boo Bash tickets at the door when you come on that day. And then the last item is we're still looking for silent auction items for the silent auction. So if you have anything that you want to donate for the silent auction, please bring it in and give it to Reverend Karen so we can have the silent auction set up. So that's all the fun stuff that's going on. And Mary's here, so the thrift store is open today. So 50% off on. She made an executive decision. Thank you, Mary. All right, so we come together every Sunday to remember our truth, that we're whole, perfect, complete, just the way we are. So we celebrate each other as we are moving through this wonderful journey called life. So let's say, one more thing before I forgot. How can I forget? We have our guest musician, Jennifer Sheets, with us today, and she's got some great music for us. So thank you. All right, so let's say our vision statement together. We are a loving, joy-filled community, honoring the many paths to God as we learn and live the Science of Mind principles. And so it is.
I will make a quiet place within my heart. I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my mind. And I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord.
Be Be still, my soul, be still. Be still, my soul, be still. Be still and know.
I will make a quiet place within my life. And I will wait upon the Lord, wait upon the Lord. I will make a quiet place.
As we've just taken this quiet place where we are waiting, contemplating, and knowing the truth of our being, that there is only love. As we let the mind calm and we center ourselves in the heart, where we know the absolute truth of our divine being, that beyond our daily activities, beyond any goings on, there is a seed of who you truly are. And these words are shared and expressed today by Reverend Karen about that truth, about how to recognize that seed, how to embody it and be it, how to take it out into the world and share it with your brother or your sister, how to become magnetic in our nature, how to draw within and turn to the heart space, leaving all worldly things behind, if just for a moment, to know your true self. That this is the beauty of this sanctuary. It is the beauty of your life. It is the beauty that 1900 billion minutes ago, Christ walked this planet to share the same message. That's how quick time is. That you are here for a reason, walking in your own personal, individual way to wake up and come home and to embody these teachings in your daily life. And we know that the thing that gets it done does the work. So as we sit here and contemplate this and the words and the music and the community, we release it to the thing that gets it done, knowing it is so. And so it is. Today the reading is from 10 Ideas That Make a Difference by Ernest Holmes. The individual who will learn how to change his thinking can remold his destiny. Negative forces operating in our life will die a natural death if we practice the habit of being interested in them. Or disinterested in them. Outward forms of behavior are but automatic results of our inner mental images. The way we are thinking these thoughts, conscious or subconscious. Constantly, we are being drawn into situations and circumstances by what we are thinking, sometimes against our own will. For most of our mental imagery is subconscious. There is much in the subconsciousness of which the intellect is not aware. But one thing certain, our subconscious and unconscious mental patterns can be changed. We have created them, and we can change them. Take this in for a moment. And so it is.
Wake up, lay down the burden, leave it alone, it's time to move on. Step up with a light heart, shine it all around, do your with a word like a prayer, send it out everywhere, it will grow. And And the truth of this force leads us back to the source we all know. Live out the best of your life. Live out the best of your life. Take a chance. Reap the reward. It's yours to be had, what you're looking for. Make it up as you go along. No one can say what's right or what's wrong. With a word like a prayer, send it out everywhere, it will grow. And the truth of this force leads us back to the source we all know. Live out the best of your life. Live out the best of your life. Wake up, shine it all around. With a word like a prayer, send it out everywhere, it will grow. And the truth of this force leads us back to the source we all know. We all know it. With a word like a prayer, send it out everywhere, it will grow. Oh, it will grow. When the truth of this force leads us back to the source we all know. Live out the best of your life. 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 Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. What a treat to have you in the house. We don't get you very often, and it's lovely to have you just ease your way in, and everybody still has a good time, and the show goes on. So, good morning. Welcome to the show. I'm Reverend Karen Rice, and I'm the leader of this spiritual community, and really happy to see all your beautiful, bubbling faces. What a great morning we have planned. I am talking this morning about spiritual attentiveness. I think that's what it boils down to. What is spiritual attentiveness, and how do we use it in such a way that we are lifted by putting our attention on things that really work? So the reading and the choice of song, are right in line with what I want to say today. The title of my message is Up, Up, and Away. Yeah, I've been singing all week. Aren't you glad I didn't break into song on that one? But you're hearing it in your head, aren't you? Up, and away. Okay, you did make me sing it. Oh, you guys are tricky. So Up, Up, and Away is something I want to talk to you about. And it made me think of being in a hot air balloon. How many of you have ever gone up in a hot air balloon? How many of you will never climb in that little basket and you never have that experience? Right. So for some reason, a hot air balloon experience was on my bucket list, and I don't like heights. I don't like it that much adventure, and but I've always thought it must be something magical to just be able to float up and away, you know. And so for my 65th birthday, we had moved. We had been here, I don't know, about 5 years, I guess. I think I was 60 when I came, and so I sent an email to all my kids. I have 4 children. Hey, I'm going to go up in a hot air balloon on my birthday. Who wants to come with me? Because Hugh wouldn't do it. Who wants to come with me? And only one of my kids actually wanted to go. The other 3, I was so surprised because they're like daredevils. My son like races all kinds of contraptions in the desert and, you know, rides a Harley. And one of my daughters has actually, what do you call it when you jump out of an airplane and skydiving? But no, nobody the least likely daughter said yes and went up in the hot air balloon with me. And there's something, for those of you, we had a good number of people that raised their hand there. It is sort of magical. It is sort of a mystical kind of moment because you're in this, well, it is a wicker basket and there is fire. It's confusing. And you're really close to the fire, you know. But there's something about being lifted off the ground without a noisy engine or a motor making noise. You know, I mean, you do get that blast of the flame every so often, and then you rise. And so I remember, like, first of all, getting in that basket was kind of a trick. It was not made for, do it while you're young is what I was thinking to myself while I was trying to climb in there, and my poor daughter is trying to help me. But we managed. I got in there. And then you get in, and then they tell you, now, by the way, when we land, it's probably going to tip one way or the other, so the people on the other side may end up on top of you. Just so you know, if it comes this way, you need to duck and protect yourself, and so you then want to know who might land on you. You know, it's like, uh-oh. Immediately glad I didn't have my husband in the thing with me. Right? Big man, 6'5" and, well, a few pounds. It was fabulous, and I was really quite frightened as it was lifting off the ground, and you're second guessing yourself, and at the same time you're scratching something off your bucket list, you know, and it's lifting, and it was just so beautiful. And you know, here in the desert, there's so much opportunity to go ballooning. And it's have you ever just seen one go right by your house? I live not far from here, and yeah, it's crazy. It's like, where did that come? And worse yet, where is it going to land? You know, this is city here. So it was a lovely experience, and I noticed that I started thinking like, ooh, I want to take some pictures. It's really beautiful, but I had to let go of the side in order to work to work the phone and take some pictures. But you do that, and then you find your level of comfort in the experience. And then I didn't worry until it was time to come down. So we bought this package deal for my birthday, and it included a champagne brunch on the ground, except for they have no idea where you're going to land. So there's a vehicle on the ground that's, you know, got probably a radio connection, I'm guessing, and they're watching you, and they're, you know, trying, and then at some point we're just trying to float and wait till they catch up with us, and there are places you can't land because you know, there are laws, and it was thrilling. It was really exciting until one woman went, Are we concerned about those power lines over there? And then suddenly, once again, I was not having fun. I was like really wondering, what do I have to leap out of here to save my life so we don't, you know. It's just an interesting experience in all kinds of ways. But what I realized, if you look at it in sort of a symbolic way, is that gentle lift off the ground, using just the heat, just using what nature gives, and then humankind, we use our minds to figure out ways to make it work and be enjoyable for us. And it's such a good symbol of being lifted out of the chaotic minutia and into something more peaceful and beautiful and yet still adventurous in its own way. So that's what I want to look at today. I think that all of our spiritual practices connected to practical application of spiritual principles in our lives. So we have prayer and we have treatment and we take classes and we have luscious reading material and study guides and conversation circles, and we emphasize practicing the presence and contemplation and reflective journaling, and the list just goes on and on and on as to ways in which we have an emphasis on applying these tools in our lives. And when Holmes would say, Dr. Ernest Holmes, who founded this teaching, when Holmes would say, there's a power and a presence in the universe, it's a presence for good, and we can use it. These are the tools and the skills we're talking about. So prayer is definitely, affirmative prayer in the way that we present it is a definite solid lift, because the words of prayer pull our attention away from our problems, away from any sense of suffering or the way that we struggle in life. Prayer anchors us, centers us in truth, and we are sort of lifted above all the shenanigans of daily living. So I would say to you that I personally, and we all individualize these skills in our own way, in the way that we create our own practice, but I do not use prayer, nor do I use meditation to experience bliss. And when you can let go of that idea that if you meditate right, you should have some blissful moment or experience, once we can release that idea, which is part of the purpose of meditation, for us to recognize that bliss is not the ultimate goal, then you can receive the benefits that come from stillness, that come from the affirmative action of using powerful words of prayer. So we come to learn at some point, especially the more we become skilled at using affirmative prayer, that it's not a magic potion. It's not like if you take enough classes and you figure out the 5 steps to treatment that you're going to magically have superpowers and your life is going to change and you're going to live happily ever after. You might. It's possible. But what I realize is that there's more to prayer than just trying to get those demons under control, that little, which is, by the way, always your own voice in your head. Or sometimes your mom, as it turns out. Tracy and I had that talk just before we stepped through that door. Focus. It was funny. It was funny. So I pray. I don't pray for bliss. I pray to bring me back to a very clear sense of the presence of God right where I am. And that's why, that's the purpose. That's what we all want to do, because in that acceptance, in that realization that, oh, that's right. How could God be missing or lacking or limited in any way, not only in my life, but in the lives of my loved ones? Woo, that's a huge relief. So when I sense that power in my life, I just notice I breathe different. My breathing shifts, because there's something in the air of confidence and certainty about this spiritual truth that has a calming effect on me. And so when I'm that clear, I have those moments of awareness that it's not up to me to save the world, that I don't have to go around fixing everybody else's problems. Now, when I'm not prayed up, I'm a pretty good fixer. But when I'm aware of that power and that everybody has equal access to it, then I don't need to perform things in my life that are part of a job description. I don't see it any way like that at all. In fact, I would go so far as to say that Jesus did not, in the entire course of his ministry, he did not go around fixing people. The purpose of miracles that were performed and are recorded biblically, the purpose of those miracles were to change us so that we could deepen in our faith, so we could understand that there's a power that's greater than we are, and that we can change our lives as we change our thinking. And that was at the very core of what this person Jesus did. The purpose of the miracles was to expand our faith in what's possible in our living. And so spiritual practices are always pointing us back to truth in that way that John Lennon so cleverly worded it. In the end, everything will be okay, and if it's not okay, it's not the end. So here's the quote from Dr. Ernest Holmes, where I got the title Up, Up, and Away, where I got the idea for the title Up, Up, and Away. Holmes said, I was quoting it, taking it from Essential Ernest. All appearances of evil are but wrong interpretations of the truth. There's something to think about. Prayer corrects the wrong use through right knowing. The words used in prayer imply a feeling which lifts one above the appearance. The feeling. So I was just teaching self-mastery last Thursday, and there was a quote we were playing with in that class that was talking about prayer and using a quote from Ernest Holmes, and he said that when you can be taught how to pray. I can teach you how to pray, but I can't teach you how to get the fire that fuels the prayer. See, we have to do that all on our own. You know, there's the method, but then there's the fire, and it's up to us to add the fire, and we only add the fire through how deeply we believe, how much conviction we have that the words of our prayer are true. And so we use words to help us get that fire, get to that place. So prayer helps me get my head on right. Prayer is when I can put the words together and keep saying them until I can feel them, then that fire of that prayer powers that lift in the same way that you can hear that. I can hear that noise right now in the hot air balloon, that fiery thing. Yeah. Good job. Good job, you guys. Amen. So a well-spoken prayer imposes upon the prayer a feeling of relief, right? Think of it as that way you can take a deeper breath after you have convinced yourself through the words of prayer of the truth of this spiritual power and presence in our lives. Now, prayer does not bring an end to evil. I think that a lot of us pray to asking God to intervene and to stop the evil things that we see unfolding in the world. I think there are people who pray that, somebody said in class on Thursday, and I love this, that one of the best prayers is help. You know, do you see that? It's like when you turn your head up and remember that you don't know what this burden is, but you open yourself, you're releasing it. You're not hanging on to it anymore. Help. So there's a way that in certain faiths they say, Lord, please lift this burden from me. You know, those times where we just want whatever it is we're going through to stop. But there are deeper ways of understanding that power and that presence in our lives and applying it and using it in that way that we use prayer. Prayer doesn't end evil, but it does end the cycle of negative thoughts in our own minds. So in a way, yes, prayer can turn everything around, and your words need to be convincing. You just want to get out of that. You get stuck in a rut or that muck and that mire, like, it's thick and you can't quite get out of it, and the negativity is moving around. So we open ourselves to be lifted up and out of all that muck. So there are also people who believe and state that, and we say this sometimes, but I believe that I speak it more symbolically. I don't mean it literally. In the same way, at the end of my prayer, I always say, thank you, God. Thank you, Infinite Spirit. Well, in a proper science of mind, spiritual mind treatment, we would never speak to God as though God exists outside of us. In a proper, well done treatment, you're speaking to yourself. You're not trying to convince God to bring some good into your life. You're trying to convince yourself to be receptive. Go back and watch last week's talk on receptivity. It was powerful. There's a way in which we have had error in our thinking, or maybe it's not an error, but maybe we could deepen and clarify a little more clearly that God does not throw problems at us so that we'll grow. Right? That is not a loving, kind idea of the way that we view this idea of God as the infinite intelligence of all the universe. And so I feel really firmly about this because I bump into, and more, we're all going to be bumping into atheists and agnostics because it's become almost what seems to me, this is not a proper word, don't repeat this, okay? But it looks to me like it's almost trendy to be atheist or agnostic now because it implies you're having more inclusive thoughts, that you don't belong to any judgmental religion that would put down another human being because they're not living their life up to a certain standard that the certain dogma expects or requires. And so when I do seem to get in a tangle with an atheist or an agnostic person, the one thing that sends me the most, I have never figured out the proper reply to this because there's got to be one, but they say things like, you know why I don't believe in God? And usually there's passion connected to it. You know why? Because how could there be a God that would allow such horrible things to happen in the world? And that's always the line. And then at that point, I always feel like, oh, I understand completely what you're saying because I don't believe in that God either. See, the God of my belief isn't like that. The God of my understanding does not manipulate my life. The God of my understanding has created me in this image and likeness of that ability to create in my own life the kind of life I desire to move toward and then experience. So what God created was a desire in all of us to find the lesson, to be open to whatever where our edge of growth is. And maybe it's not even to find the lesson. Maybe I was thinking while I was writing this, maybe we make the lesson, right? Because let's face it, you cannot receive a piece of information until you are ready to receive that piece of information, right? Oh my goodness, I wished I had a dollar for every time. Prosperity consciousness, well, inflation. I wished, for every time somebody came to me and went, oh my God, Reverend Karen, I just went to this lecture and you know what Ram Dass, or they named some big Deepak Chopra, somebody with more authority than me, I guess. He said, blah, 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 and I'm smiling. I'm so happy that you've got that wisdom, and all I really want to go is, I've been telling you that for 12 years. Why couldn't you hear me say it? Because we can't. Because we can't, right? When the student is ready and all of that. When you look at the creation story, God created the heavens and God created the earth and God created us. And so there's something in knowing, I love that image of us as children of God. I love thinking of Jesus as the elder brother. There's a way that if you look at what you believe God to be, if you have a good, healthy image of a really big, powerful, divine intelligence in the universe, what we could see is that all creation comes from the mind of God, from the thoughts of God. So God had a thought. The mind of God came this idea of, it's like God had a vision of creation, of humanity. And God, the purpose was freedom. not bondage, not so that we would, look at the stories of creation in every faith. It's about abundance. It's about pleasure. It's about joy, not suffering. It's about plenty, not lack, and so on and so forth. So God, first cause, the original cause of all of life, and we in all of life live in this effect of that which is divine and had this desire to have an experience of us. We follow that same pattern, so we live in that same way. Seed, soil, plant. We're always planting seeds of possibility in the soil of our life, the creative medium, the soil, the experiences of our own life, and then they grow into things. Right? They grow into, our seeds grow into relationships. And so if they don't look like the relationships you want, dig it out and plant some new seeds until you bump into the best combination for the experience of well-being in your own life. God created us with conscious thinking minds, and when we are conscious, we pay attention to the things that matter most. And in that frame of mind, we make better choices. That's why I can say so confidently that everybody is doing the best they can, and that when we know better, we do better. As we get more tools, we have a broader choice of possibilities. So if I go back now to that original quote, when Holmes said, appearances of evil are wrong interpretations of truth, now I'm reminded that whenever I'm struggling with an issue in my own life or a condition, I'm putting my own judgment on the situation before I've seen all of it, before I have all the information that will help me see it and understand it in a more whole way, more complete way. And we know this is true, you know, did you ever walk in on a conversation and then you try and join in and it turns out they weren't talking about what you thought they were talking about? So that just happened to me at the last board meeting. They're all gathered in my office waiting for me to settle down and come join the meeting so we can actually get the meeting started. And I walk in and they're all talking about something, and it was kind of I don't even remember what, kind of a lively conversation. I'm grabbing my notes and I'm going to sit where I always sit for the board meeting. I like the couch. I always sit on the little sofa in my office. I like it. Makes everybody else a little higher than me, and that's a good perspective when you're the leader, you know. Sometimes it's nice to see everybody from that, where you're looking up to them. So I sit down and I immediately I add to the conversation, and all of a sudden the room got really quiet. And there was that awkwardness, like, oh, who's going to tell her she has no clue what we're actually talking about? So we all do it. We've all been there. And for those of us who are, passionate and busy like me, fast mind and all that, we do it probably more than the introverts. But what I've come to understand is that it's not bad. But can you see how it is a bit of a disconnect? Can you see how we think we know what's going on and we try and enter and be a part of something that's happening and unfolding, but we didn't really pay attention and get enough information to participate in a way that really is involving all of it. I wanted to mention, because we're talking about rising above, being uplifted by through spiritual intentions, that when we look at the term sin is, in the metaphysical dictionary, sin is defined as missing the mark. Evil, in the metaphysical dictionary, is defined as the absence of light. And the devil is defined as anything that denies our unity with good. right? So it's all, almost the same thing in every definition. And we can see that there are mythologies that some of us can't quite shake off, like you still can hear that Sunday school teacher making you feel guilty, and like how you got to practice the 10 Commandments and don't talk back to your mom and dad. And, some of us are still trying to shake off some of that guilt. And as Michael Gott once said right here in this room, we have classes to help you with that. Because that's a real good advancement in our lives. So people who were born in a religious household often have more trouble shaking off the mythological aspects of spirituality. And there's nothing wrong with that, but we can't advance as much if we don't at some point broaden our idea of sin and evil and the devil. So we get confused by things that happen or should have happened, or however we are interpreting our own circumstances. As I was writing this exact part yesterday in my office, so my office it has my desk sits in the window, and my PC faces, so I'm looking at the window, and I have all this, and I have research material all around me. I'm reading and taking quotes, gathering quotes, and typing stuff in. And all of a sudden, the lighting changed radically. A big giant cloud must have moved through the sky, and all of a sudden, it got really dark in my office. Do you ever think like, oh God, I can't see? Oh wait, it's not me. You decide, I'm still getting used to living alone. Yes, it's tricky. Scary when you're left alone with yourself sometimes. So I went, okay. It's like, and I was a little. My first thought was, I'm doing a wedding in a few hours in a backyard in Scottsdale. I hope it's not going to rain. That was my first thought. But then after that, I'm still working, and I'm trying to get the talk done before I go to the wedding because I've got a lot on my plate for a weekend, and I'm working, and it's getting harder and harder to read my material. And at some point, it was like you wake up. You go, oh, I'll turn the light on. Right? And that's how we live our lives. See, this is a really good example of there wasn't anything wrong here. I didn't do anything bad. I wasn't neglectful in any way. So you could say that, in one hand, my first thought was like, oh, well, you just weren't really present in the moment. Yes, I was. I was fully present, attending to the task at hand. So much so that you kind of start thinking, oh, yeah, I'll just get this done, And then at some point, I flip on the light switch, and it's like, oh, why didn't I do that 5 minutes ago, right? Now I can see what I'm doing, and everything, suddenly there's light, and the struggle is lifted. There's no more suffering or struggle, however you want to look at it. It's also a good metaphor. So attentiveness has to do with thinking it through and using what's before you that is given to be used. I think it speaks beautifully to this idea that being conscious or having a moment of awareness can lift us out of the shadows. And often it involves us doing something, taking an action in some way that will serve us. So the appearance of evil, which in our lives would typically be discord, disappointment, frustration, it's kind of all negativity is lumped in that. So we're not just talking about the politician that makes you the most angry, or the ruler of a country that's inflicting war on innocent people. We're not just talking about that. We're talking about any of the problems in life. Because when we're going through struggles or problems or challenges in our lives, we are really, think about it this way. This helps me to think about it this way. We're really judging our own inability to recognize the light. Because, see, the light doesn't go away. The presence of light is always there. The presence of love is always there. It doesn't go away We just get focused on the task right in front of us. Right? And we're human. We live in finite form, and we live in the world of clocks and time and the movement of the sun and the day and the night, and the clouds get in the way sometimes. And that is a part of the beauty of our lives. It's not a bad thing. It's not out to hurt us or it doesn't even have to teach you a lesson. But we will find an equilibrium, a balance as to how we move through it. Now, I want to tell you something really fun. I stumbled on this study. This is so fun. So glad I have this job. So fun. I can find these stories and these studies, and then I get to share them with you and put it in the context of being lifted up and away from the struggle, away from the judgments, away from negativity. In 1959, at Harvard, they did this study. And so they were researchers. They asked for college students to volunteer, and they would only take volunteers from this sophomore class. Now, remember, a long time ago I told you the word sophomore in Latin means foolish one, the root of sophomore. So they were looking for people that weren't in their first year of college, but they weren't too intellectual yet. They picked the sophomores. And they got a bunch of volunteers, and they told them this: we want you to take a month and write your philosophy on life. 1 month, and really focus on what are your guiding principles? What are your values? Really think about it and put together this really intensive report. We have to write it out, and we're going to ask you to turn it in 1 month. So in 1 month, they all gather with their finished assignment, and they turn it into the researchers. And now they're told that they're going to examine their work, and they're going to find somebody that will have opposing views, different values, different guiding principles, and they're going to pair them off, and each pair now with somebody who has conflicting views from you, and you're going to have to do an 18-minute debate, and you are going to have to defend your philosophy for 18 minutes. So they all agree that they're willing to do that. They know it's just an experiment, except what they don't know is the people they're going to pair them with are law students from Harvard. Right? So they know how to debate, they want the practice, and they're good at it, and they're not kind necessarily. They just know how to do that art of debating. So they get them together for their 18-minute debate, and it's filmed. They're recording the whole thing. Now, the purpose of the recording is that when they were done, so for 18 minutes, imagine these law students are just beating you up for everything you believe. They're critiquing you and telling you why it's wrong, and the people are having all kinds of reactions, and they're being filmed. The next thing they did was they made the students watch themselves in the way that they reacted. Whew, that really stirs me. I don't want to see how I look when I'm defending myself, And so not only did they show them the footage that they had filmed, but they were required in the next few weeks to see 8 hours of themselves defending themselves in that film. So that means they watched it about 30 times. They watched that 18 minutes again and again and again and again. Now, the study gave them some information. They were told they were looking for, we're looking for how the personality develops, and they were told all kinds of things that weren't true. But what was intended was that they would follow those people in the study for 25 years, and they did so. At the end of 25 years, now at first everybody was pretty just angry or hurt or traumatized, but after 25 years, there were people in that research experiment that were still as angry as they were the day they were confronted by the law students. And that they could talk about it and be just express this awful rage, and it was ugly, and it was fascinating, and the minute they would start talking about it, it would bubble up. But there were other people in the study who felt that there was some joy that they had experienced in the long term at being forced to rethink their own beliefs. They not only, some of them used the word joy, others actually said they were fascinated at this opportunity to watch themselves and really see what made them tick when they were that age. So it's such a beautiful opportunity for us to see that we have choice and that you can carry that rage with you forever, and many of us do. And probably all of us have something that we could, if you hit our trigger line, we could get there. But here's what the researchers said, and this is very relevant. The goal is not that we should be wrong more often, though I do think there's some worthiness in that. I would like to think I could be wrong more often. But that's not the goal. The goal is to see that we are all wrong more often than we'd like to admit. And the more that we deny it, the deeper we dig the hole. I like that, because that means it's not just me, it's all of us. Joel Goldsmith, another great spiritual thinker, said, as we persist in judging one another by what we appear to be or what we think we are all taking part in a great masquerade. We do, we wear costumes, don't we? And we react to life in our own individualized way. And we choose what our lessons will be and what we can't see. On some level, we choose. So I was thinking about that TV show, Frasier. Remember Frasier? Dr. Frasier Crane, and I'll tell you something. I worked a lot of years in 2 or 3 different psych offices, and I'd like to tell you that it's a funny show making fun of psychiatrists, but every psychiatrist I ever worked with acted just like Frasier Crane. They're a little bit kooky. They're a little bit different than the psychologists, the other counselors. The psychiatrists, I don't know what it is, but they were all very interesting, almost fun. They were so interesting, but sometimes not fun. But Frasier Crane one time said on the TV sitcom, I have a degree from Harvard. Whenever I'm wrong, the world makes a little less sense. You know how he worried about everything? So I think that's where I want to end it today. Is there some truth in that? Is it possible that the more intellectual we become, the less open we are to new views? The more knowledge we acquire, the more we defend our views, the less open we are to receive other views and listen to that. So keep in mind that our teaching is very intellectual, but it is also extremely experiential. You probably will not find another faith that invests more in spiritual practice and in the way that we are urged to participate in our own well-being. So let us, this is your homework, please think about playing and dabbling in it just a little bit, or dedicate a good chunk of time. Practice being spiritually attentive this week, and aim to make it your goal to have an experience where you turn to God and you feel a sense of lift. That's what I wanted to say today. And as always, we will turn to prayer. And yet today, there's some substance that I can sense and feel in this room, in our willingness to pray in such a way that we are lifted, that we rise above the circumstances in our daily life, that we rise above the conflict in the world, that we have a willingness to view the contradictions in life from a higher perspective. And so for a while, we just feel the love of God. Feel that love uplifting you even now, wherever you are, whether you are at home or sitting in this sanctuary. We recognize that there is only one mind. It is the mind of God, and that mind is my mind. It is our mind, each and every one of us. By the very nature of the action of prayer, we are unifying with that mind, with that intelligence, with that divine truth. And we feel and sense the power and the presence of the Almighty right here in this room. We feel it and sense it deep at the center of our own being. For there is an indwelling presence of God where the wisdom that we need to guide us in our own lives, that wisdom awaits our notice. And so we are attentive this day, and we set a goal to be attentive this week, putting our attention on spiritual matters, on the ways in which we can be lifted, either by prayer or through study or through a beautiful walk in nature. We allow ourselves to know that there is a fire within us that desires expression through this passionate power of prayer, wherein we align ourselves to the divine truths, to the perfection that lives in our being, that every cell and atom and muscle and organ in our body exists and operates through this divine intelligence that is already embedded in our DNA. Something about us is fully divine. So I feel that activity of life within me, and I realize that it is the quickening that comes from these powerful words of prayer. I sense and know that there is shift happening in the lives of individuals in this room and at the sound of my voice, that we are clearing away the muck and the mire so that we can see more clearly from that beautiful basket of life that holds us as we float in that divine perfection, recognizing the vastness of good that is right before us all the time and in every way. So we open ourselves to receive. We allow the grace of God to pour over us and stream through us so that we might do the work we are called to do this week, that we might rise above the circumstances, that we might show up as a guiding light, a golden, beautiful illumination within us that allows others to see their way too. And in this great way, we put a drop of beauty into life, and it ripples out and touches all our loved ones. It heals and it holds. It brings us into crisp and fresh awareness. I am grateful for this. I am grateful for this spiritual community and the many blessings that come from the individuals that support it, knowing that in truth, light and love are always revealed no matter what. So I say thank you, God. Thank you, life. Thank you, Infinite Spirit, for these renewed views, ideas, and aspirations. I release these words into the law, knowing it is already done, and together we say, and so it is. Amen.
Let go of the shore, and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into mystery. You have all you need, it's all inside of you. Just close your eyes and breathe, and know that you are safe.
the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. No need to make a plan, your heart will be your compass. Just lift your sails in faith and trust that you will arrive. Let go of the shore and let the water carry you. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. Let go of the shore, float into the mystery. Float into the mystery. Float into the mystery.
All right, thank you, Jennifer. That was beautiful. All right, so now's the time to celebrate the abundance of our lives, the abundance of our communities, of our community. Just want to remind everybody that we are not passing around the offering plate, that we have drop boxes and tithing envelopes in the back of the room on the way into the community fellowship hall where we go eat, and also out in the bookstore. So please join us after service for a wonderful snack and loving community. So let's say our giving affirmation together. I live in a consciousness of good. Divine love blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God, and so it is.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you're discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you gotta let it go. Just let it all go. This is what you've got to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide.
morning affirmation together. Just repeat after me. I'm not going to put it up there because you guys read it before me. So you have to repeat it after me. Oh, I lost it now. There it is. I live consciously, which allows me to choose the life I want to experience. And so it is.